He's been in rooms we all dream about, next to names you know, the cameras you follow, and the brands you buy. He has helped build something iconic, but now he's doing something even more powerful. He's taking everything he learned from his years in entertainment and helping people communicate, lead, and live with intention. Because presence isn't just about fame, it's about clarity. And real influence starts with how you speak. Welcome back to Success Unscripted, where we redefine what success looks like from the inside out. Harry, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited about this conversation, and I feel it's overdue because you and I are aligned on so many topics.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the amazing introduction. I haven't had an introduction like that in my life.
Yeah.
So, like not even like high school or graduation, anything like that. So,
that's what we do over here,
yeah,
okay?
Well, I appreciate it. I need to hire you just to walk around and say, hey, I want to introduce you to, and
then I'll
and just do the introduction.
Exactly,
for me. Yeah.
Exactly. Anytime. Well, you know, the price is expensive over here, but we'll talk about that later. Listen, I want to ask you the first question. Since you've been in music for so long, who is your number one, you can't pick top 5, favorite hip hop artist?
Favorite hip hop artist of all time?
Yeah.
Easy question.
Okay.
And the easy answer. I'm going with Nas.
How? Why?
Nas. Well, number one, when Nas first came out, I forgot how old I was. I was, young, and just being influenced by his intellect in music, like very intellectual. And then he was like smooth, just came across like as what you call the Don, right?
Yeah.
And he's just very consistent with his intelligence in music, which I really, really appreciate. Like even when he, get into the spat with Jay-Z, I love his demeanor and how I feel he never let his emotions got the best of him.
Yeah.
And I see that all through his music. And for me, Nas is he's like a monument in hip hop, right? So if hip hop was like New York, a state, right? Nas is like the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building. He's a monument in hip hop that you
So what would Biggie be?
Well, there's a lot of monuments in New York, right? So it's the Brooklyn Bridge. It's Yankee Stadium is a monument, things like that.
Okay.
And reason why I say that about Nas, to wrap it up, we don't disrespect our monuments, right? Like you don't throw rocks at the Statue of Liberty. You don't urinate on the side of the Empire State Building. You respect the monuments in your towns, in your city. So
yeah.
If we're looking at hip hop and hip hop is a city, there's a monument of Nas in that city.
I feel like we can go so many different routes with this conversation because now then my question is, if he is your number one go-to to listen to, who would you say is the most successful?
That's a great question. Well, let me rewind a little bit of Nas. Like Nas is my favorite rapper of all time. I may have a favorite artist that's different, right? Because I think an artist embodies a lot more. I don't put anyone above Nas as far as a rapper. Of artists, I may have a few others in there. Now, to your point, like you saying my go-to or like who would I listen to? I'm the playlist master. So I have music all over the place.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm the playlist master. From the newer school, I enjoy Drake. Right? I think he's one of the most talented artists that hip-hop or music has ever seen. And I know he's going through this spat with Kendrick Lamar and people feel away. I think years from now, people are going to sit back and really like look at his body of work and thank him.
Right.
And let me explain why real fast. The era I'm from, I love 90s R&B. We needed that type of music to make us feel a certain way. That's why everyone always goes back to 90s R&B, 90s R&B. I love it. You're going to look back, and you're going to look at Drake's catalog, and you're going to say, this music made us feel a certain, or even the kids from now, whoever's 13, 14, 15, the 20-something-year-olds, they're going to say that music made us feel a certain way. Yeah. So you're going to thank them later if you're not thanking them now.
Listen, we can stay. This whole show would be about music and hip hop if I allowed it to be, for sure, because I have so many more questions and we can definitely talk about it. But let's dive into, I want us to talk about, let's start about your career, right? Because like I said, you've been in rooms people dream about. And so as a young person growing up, If you were in front of your 16-year-old self now, what would he say?
If I was in front of my 16-year-old and my 16-year-old self know what I am now, or he just, well, my 16-year-old self, he'll be talking too much. And I'll be telling him, listen, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you should listen twice as much as you talk. Stop talking. Listen, you don't have it all figured out. Right? So he'll be running off the mouth. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But there'll be a lot of things that are similar between him and I. The determination and the discipline. Because the 16-year-old me, the discipline and the dedication has never wavered. No matter what it takes, I'm going to grind. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to stay on the path. But my 16-year-old self will be surprised that some of his idols I'm seeing eye to eye now. Whoever my 16-year-old self was looking up to, now I'm sitting across from them. So he'll be proud of that.
What's something that you're proud of that nobody knows about? We get vulnerable on this show.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Something I'm proud about. I am proud of my level of education I reached. Some may not know that. And yeah, it's a master's degree. And in my field of education, a master's degree is like, all right, fine. Well, this person has a PhD. So it may not be as high to others, but I'm proud of that. And some may not know that. Being in entertainment and worked in the hip hop industry and a brand executive, entertainment executive, you may not be aware that I have a master's degree, college professor, and a martial artist. You might not know that, but I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Oh, a lot to be proud of, obviously. So why did you choose? So you're in entertainment. You're around all of these, celebrities. Why did you choose to get your master's and become a professor?
Well, that's a great story. Education has always been easy for me.
So you're just super smart?
I believe I have a certain level of intelligence. Yes, certain level of intelligence that I work at, right? That I work at a certain level of intelligence. And getting degrees were easy. So for me, why not put myself in the best position and just in this thing called life, right? So I have friends growing up in the Bronx who may have went the wrong route, and some of them went to prison. And what I would do, I count how much time someone has. Right, so I have a friend who went to prison. He got sentenced for 5 years. I say, all right, he went to jail for 5 years. We come from the same neighborhood. What can I do in 5 years while he's in prison? I went
Is
and
this
got
how
2
you
degrees.
always thought? Like, where did this come from?
I can't tell you exactly where it came from, but when you're just in that environment, you see it, because I can have easily been on that same route with some of my peers and family members. So when I see them go this way, and I have family members and friends sentenced to 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. So I say, all right, wow, this person got 4 years. What can I do? All right, I went and got a degree. This person got another X amount of years. All right, what can I do in 3? That person's in prison doing jail time. What can I do with my time? Now I have a master's degree. So I look at it like that. What can I do with the time that I have in comparison to what someone else did with their time?
So how did growing up in the Bronx influence that thought process? Or was it your household? Or where do you think that type of determination came from?
Well, everyone needs a carrot, meaning, you know how they say you put the carrot in front of the horse. What's driving you forward? What's driving you forward? And I'm going to be honest. I was introduced to the hip hop. I started as an artist, as a musician, and with a record company called Uptown Records. Right? It's like, it was the #1 record company that anyone could be a part of. It was Mary J. Blige. It was Jodeci. It was all these people.
What year was this?
I'm not going to say. You have to look that up, right?
Okay. It's in the book. It's in the book, people.
Well, no,
it's in the book.
You can check the book out. This part is not in it, but let me to answer you, right? And this may shock you. So I had a development deal with Uptown Records early on.
How old were you?
I was in maybe eighth grade. However old you are in 8th grade. So I was maybe 8th grade.
So wait a second. You had a development deal in the 8th grade.
Yeah, it was a few of us.
With Uptown Records. So when did you start? I'm assuming you were a rapper?
Why you assume?
Oh, I think I did the research on it. You were a rapper.
Okay. All right. But yeah, So,
because if you could sing, I'm going to make you sing right now. So,
well, like you said earlier, that may cost a little bit. All right.
I like it.
So, Uptown Records, a gentleman by the name of James Jones, God bless his dead, he passed away. He was working with me with Uptown Records. And I would meet guys like Chuck Bone. I hope Chuck sees this. Like, Chuck was a mentor. And then I used to watch Sean Combs a whole lot. Right. I used to be fascinated with his hustle, his grind, everything that embodied what this entertainment business was. Yeah. So I followed that. Me following his image of who he was kept me from going left. While I had friends who grew up with, they may idolize these false images of success in our neighborhoods. They idolize those images, and it brought them right into where some of them are. While I looked at this other image of Sean Puff Daddy Combs, followed the image that he was putting forth, and it led me to where I am. So I have to credit him on my path to where I am. Yeah. And we end up doing work together and being on tour with him and so on and so forth. So, like, I know he's going through things now, but I'm going to give him his credit of what he represented for me in those times.
Well, listen, I think at the end of the day, we all know what he's going through, but we're all multifaceted, right? We have layers to us. We're not just one-dimensional. And so everything negative that happened doesn't mean that he didn't do some good. And obviously, it sounds like he did some good for you in your life.
Absolutely. He did. Listen, he took me on the world tour. Right. He used to just sit me down and tell me, listen, just listen. I'm going to show you some things. And he showed me a lot. He showed me showmanship. He showed me marketing. He showed me how to deal with people in the music business. And it's been times in the music business where I ran into, let's say, not so nice executives or people trying to block me from different things. And he would stick up for me. I would hear about it. Like, he would say my name. He would stick up for me.
You know what I find interesting is that I know a lot of people in the industry as well. And from when I was young, he never had a good reputation for being nice to people. You're literally like the first person that tells me that he was nice, which is good to know, though. And again, we're all different depending on our circumstances and depending on where we are. And so learning all of that from him and being able to kind of take that and make it your own, I want you to first talk to me about what was it like to be in those rooms the first time, to feel like, oh, like that I am being mentored by these people. And then what has it taught you now?
Right. So early on, you don't know how valuable it is. All right, you're there and you know how people say, if I know then what I know now, like hindsight is always 20/20. Yep. So back then I was happy to be in the rooms. I did feel it was something different. I just didn't know what it was. People would treat me different in a good way, react to me certain ways, but I didn't know exactly what it was until, like I say in my book, is a term as far as your intrapersonal, like how you see yourself, is an awakening later on and say, that's what he was talking about. I'll tell you a real quick story. I was on tour with Puff and I walked in the room. He was in the dressing room. There was a few people in the dressing room. And I walked in and he looked at me. He said, come here, let me talk to you for a second. So I'm coming over. I was dressed cool. Felt like I had on some cool clothes. Whatever. So he come over. He says, that's a cool outfit. I said, thanks. He said, listen, I want to tell you something. They're going to hate you. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what he told me. He said, listen, they're going to hate you. People are going to hate you just because you. I'm very humble. I don't understand what he's saying. So he says, learn how to work the room. You're not going to dim your light, but just know they're going to hate the light. I had no idea it was a light. I didn't know what he was talking about until later on in life. I'm like,
that's what
that's what he was talking about. Yeah. But like humbly speaking, but that's what he.
Well, I don't believe in over here at Success Unscripted, we don't believe in the word humble, meaning that exactly there. A lot of times we use the word humble to dim our light. And we'll wear it as a badge of honor, like, let me not tell you what I'm doing, or let me not. I'm the opposite. I'm like, let's go ahead and talk about all the amazing things that we're doing and then invite others to just do the same. And then that way we're all shining bright. Right. That's just what I believe. So you don't have to say humbly speaking.
Right, no,
Say it with your chest.
No, I totally respect that, right? So let me add to that, because you said that before when we first met, and I respect the ideology. Let me just add to it how it works for me. And humility is something that I talk about in the book, and we're going to talk about the book. Calculated communication is beyond words, right? So being humble is something I can give out. It's how I communicate. It's how I work. It's how I connect with people. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that humility lives here.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand how to connect with someone else, and I understand how something I may give out may disconnect with someone.
Yeah.
But the humility may not live here.
Right.
Right. And people may see this podcast and may not understand it. When you pick up the book, you get it, you read it, you understand it, that yes, I'm communicating with you, not with a sense of arrogance, right? With a sense of confidence, but what I'm thinking here is more powerful than what I'm actually giving you.
You bring up a really good point, because I think that's the false narrative that we tell ourselves, that it's like, if you're not humble, then you're arrogant. And that's not necessarily the case, right? Like you're explaining. So you spoke about the book a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about the book. How did it come about, and why did you make a decision to write a book on communication, on the art of calculated communication? And once you say the word calculated, already it sounds like a little sinister, but tell us what you mean.
Thank you for that. Right. And I love explaining it, because yes, when you hear the word calculated, people think it's something sinister or something manipulative.
Yeah.
Let's get to that, right? And I want to make sure I don't lose my point on that, but let's rewind. So the book I started writing the book during the pandemic in 2020. As some people know, I'm a communication college professor. I've been teaching communication courses for maybe 12, 13 years. Mm-hmm. I understand that communication has to come, it's like prerequisites to learning and understanding how you connect. Now, when people hear the word communication, they have a misinterpretation of what it really means. So the short of it is connect. How do you connect with others? Mm-hmm. But before you can understand how to connect with others, you need to know how to connect with yourself, how you see yourself, how you understand yourself. So when I describe communication, like the first title of the book, it's beyond words. Communication is beyond words. Yeah. It's calculated communication. Now, the calculated part is understanding is an art to how you think and how you see you, right? And with that, I have to use everything how I feel about me, my intrapersonal intelligence. How can I connect with you? Mm-hmm. So even though some may hear the word calculated, it's just a planned way to communicate with someone. So like, let's say, for instance, and I talk about this in the book, connecting with someone. So I come in and I don't know you at all, but I want to get to know you. I want to have a conversation. Say you're someone that I want to do business with. Immediately, I'm trying to find what do we have in common that we can have a conversation with. We're both wearing glasses. Wow, I like your glasses. I like your suit. Are those prescription? Let me see. Next you know, you think we're talking about glasses. We are, but I'm just trying to find ways to connect with you. Now, my point of introduction may have started with glasses. 10 years from now, we're best friends. You're like, how did you get so close? I don't know. He sat down, he both had on glasses, and 10 years later,
here we are.
But it's strategic about it, not manipulative. Some people may have say, you're a successful woman, and I want to do business with you, but I may be intimidated. I need to find ways to communicate with you and armor myself in this conversation. So I have to be calculated.
Honestly, I think what you're doing is so important and so valuable, specifically for men of color. So when you think about the way men of color speak to themselves and speak to others, right? When you think about that, and even just where I came from and the men that I know, and even me, myself, the armor that gets built up over the years, it's like, I need to be strong. I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to show, or I need to play the background, right? One or the other. Well, at least that was for me. A lot of the men that I know, they like to show. But I think that idea of understanding why do I think this way? Questioning our own beliefs, questioning our thoughts, questioning all the stuff that has been put upon us, and and asking ourselves, wait, do I want to keep that thought or do I want to just release that thought? Talk to me about what kind of impact are you making there? And am I off base, or do you agree, or where are we?
No, you're very on base. And I know I don't have a lot of time to talk about this part of it. And I want people to pick up the book, but it's very important. And you mentioned men of color. Now, in the book, there's a chapter called Media and Manipulation. So let me just try to break this down quickly. Media is any form or any way you receive information. So it's movies, it's TV, it's music, it's news, it's social media, podcasts, any way you receive information. So let me land the plane now. So say men of color or anyone, there's a distorted image of how you see yourself, right? In media. Media represents males in a certain light. But let's say how black males may represent their self in media. Think about the music. Think about the content in the music. Think about your favorite shows. Someone say, my favorite show is The Wire. My favorite show is Power. My favorite movies are all of these movies. Where do I see myself? I see myself in those images. So it's creating a distorted reality of who I am. And then I may even perpetuate certain stereotypes. So some may say, hey, this person is being stereotypical to you. Like, and please follow me. I want everyone to follow me with this. If you never grew up around, say, any Italians, like you don't have Italian friends, but your education or miseducation of Italians
is the Sopranos.
Sopranos, the Goodfellas.
Yeah.
That's all you know. That's all you know.
And that's all you know.
And say that's all the images that in media Italian Americans are putting forth. A person with a lower level of intelligence and maturity, when they see that image, they interact with it a certain way.
Yeah.
Oh, this person like a mob figure, or this person like that. So to rewind, how black men see themselves in the representation they put out on their own, and how it's given back to them can cause them to not understand how to communicate with their self properly.
Yeah. I think this is just such an important conversation to have that needs to be had more often, because in my world, in my space, I do a lot of women's retreats and I do a lot of events, and men actually come to my events too. They just don't like to be on camera. But what I hear from outside men who have never been in the space, they're like, oh my God, you guys are doing such great jobs. Like, men need this. They say it, but they won't show up. Or am I wrong? I feel like they desire it in a way, but they also feel like, oh, I don't know if I belong there. Like, I don't know if they know they need it on some deeper level, but
it's just reaching the highest level of yourself and understanding you. Like, if you know that this is something that can improve you, what's stopping you?
But I think you said it right there, understanding you. A lot of people don't understand themselves. And so how do we chip away at that to say, there is opportunity to learn more about me. Forget about everybody else. There's opportunity for me to learn more about me, because in corporate spaces and in other spaces, it's like learn them, mirror and match, figure out they have the same glasses. So let me, like all of that. And I think there's value in that. But to me, it always starts with self 100% every time.
Yes. And like going back to the book, that's the first chapter, your intrapersonal intelligence, how you see you, your self-concept. How do you self-evaluate? How do you evaluate yourself? You must be able to evaluate you in order to grow.
Can we just, I want to double click on that really quick. So how do you evaluate yourself?
All right. So in the book, I speak of something I learned in college and I added in the book is the 4 selves. Is your open self, your blind self, your hidden self, and your unknown self. So your open self represents everything that you know about you and everyone knows it as well, right?
That's what's out here.
That's what's out there, right? If I think I'm funny, you think I'm funny, I know that about me. Or if I am sensitive and I know that and you know that, that's fine. But then there's the blind self. The blind self represents things that you are not aware that you do, aware of habits and behaviors and thought patterns. You're not aware of it, but others may be aware of it. So short example, what's in the book. The blind self is equivalent to the blind spot of a car. As you're driving and you're on the road, there's something called the blind spot. It's something that's sitting there that everyone else can see except you on the road. And if you don't make adjustments to see that car while you're traveling, you could end up crashing.
Yeah.
But everyone sees it.
Yeah.
Like the blind self represent things that you don't know, but I know these things about you. So this is how you evaluate yourself. So if you're trying to merge and there's a car in the blind spot, what do? You make adjustments, right? You look to see what's there before you merge. So the blind self, how you evaluate yourself, there are things about you that you're not aware of. And some people that you love may say these things to you like, hey, you know, you could be very selfish, or you could be very this, or you could be very that.
Sensitive.
Right? So say we're in a relationship and the person says that, you know, you could be selfish. You're like, all right, whatever. Then you get into another relationship and they say, you're so selfish. And sooner or later, if you don't take a look what's in your blind spot, you see like, oh, let me evaluate. You know what? That was selfish.
Yeah.
That was selfish. I don't want to be that way. If you don't evaluate what's in the blind spot, you're going to have a communication crash.
Yeah. So here's what typically happens. We evaluate it, then we beat ourselves up, and we do nothing about it. Right. And I remember this was when I was in corporate, having a conversation with a team member, and he was upset and complaining. And I said, here's the thing. Let's call him Bob. Here's the thing, Bob. I'm giving you this feedback. Your teammates are giving you this feedback, and your clients are giving you this feedback. Everybody can't be wrong. And so what do we want to do about it, though? Right. And so I think what you're saying is so important. The issue is that we don't know how to give feedback or receive it. Go ahead.
That's also in the book. Reaching the highest level of yourself is understanding that you have to evaluate yourself, and you have to understand that you're not always this, or you're not always that. You're not always right, and you're not always wrong either.
Yeah.
So you assess the relationships. I'm not saying I'm listening to every person in my life that's saying something, but there must be people in your life that you trust, that have your best interests at heart, that are saying, hey, this is what I see.
Yeah.
This is what I see. Yeah. This is what I see.
Yep.
And in order for me to grow, I have to take a step back. I have to look at it and say, all right, so let me make some changes.
Let me give you an example. I just had this conversation with somebody I know, literally, like last week. I've known this person for a couple of years, and I remember he told me a while ago that he had a falling out with someone because they said in a group chat, you always make everything about you. And then someone else chimed in and said, yeah, and they were devastated. They were really upset. They're like, I'm just the life of the party. Like, I just want to blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, the person calls me for my birthday to wish me a happy birthday, and then says, why didn't you invite me to your party? And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you have no idea what I was going through. You have no idea nothing. So a couple of days pass and we speak, and I said, remember when your friend said XYZ about you? I just want to give you an example of when, like, what that looks like. You called me to wish me a happy birthday and then got upset and made my birthday about you. You have no idea what I was going through. You have and P.S., you weren't even in town. So there's that part. Yeah. And the person was ready to receive it and said, okay, that's something for me to reflect. But to me, a real friend, that's what they do. Yeah. Call me out on my shit, but then I also have to be open to receiving it.
Right. But see, the thing is, and I totally agree, right? Even with calling someone out, is an element that we both need. And it's something I speak about in the book. I forgot what chapter it is. And you hear people say it a lot often. It's emotional intelligence.
Yep.
So even though I have to have emotional intelligence to know that you may not even be aware of what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's first.
Yep.
So if you're not aware of what you're doing, it's hard to hold you so accountable to it, because you're not aware of something sitting in your blind spot.
Right.
You're not aware. So I'm going to, even though I'm calling you out, I'm still communicating with you as such, because I know you're not aware of this. So in this conversation, we both must possess emotional intelligence. So when you quote unquote say it's me, you call me out on it, I have to have emotional intelligence to understand how are my actions affecting the world around me.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the supreme levels of being emotional intelligent. Understand how you can be affecting the world around you.
Yeah. But I also think there's such thing as called an emotional bank account. And so you have to know if I had put I know with this relationship that I just described, I've put enough in our emotional bank account that I could have that conversation with them. And also my language mattered. My tone mattered. Like, so many things. And I'm sure it's all in the book. All of those things mattered. And that's why I could deliver that message. But if, let's say I didn't really know him that well, that may not have landed because our emotional bank account is not full. Yeah. So there's so many factors when it comes to, that's why I love communication so much, because I know for me personally, when I learned how to communicate better, every single one of my relationships changed at work and at home. And that's why I think it's so important. And when you think about corporate, it's like, what's the main problem? Communication, interdepartmental communication, the way they communicate with self, the shitty leaders that are still around, like all of those things, they affect us at work and at home.
And when you say at work, at home, it's something that I start all my classes off with. Effective communication will be the key to your professional and your personal success. But when you just mentioned, when you learn how to communicate better, things, change. I always like to say, when you learn how to connect and communicate with yourself first,
100%,
because it's all going to start here, right? So when you have that unlocking moment, which I talk about in the book in the first chapter, once you know how to connect with yourself, knowing who you are, I can have a better understanding of who you might be and how I deal with you.
Yeah. I mean, it all starts and ends with self.
All the time.
It all starts and ends with, that's why I do, even in my corporate, we start with a meditation. We start with the meditation, and everything goes back to, okay, well, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? What energy did I bring into that conversation, into that thing? Such a good conversation. We could stay here on this book forever, for sure. It's Beyond Words, The Art of Calculated Communication by Harold Wilkerson.
Yeah, that's me.
I love it.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to ask you one last question.
Okay.
We spoke about releasing some of those images that we have of ourselves, right? Some of how we perpetuate stereotypes. In this season of your life, see, I believe when we release, we receive. So many times we have to let go of the shit in order to get more stuff.
Right.
So what are you releasing right now?
Great question. I'm releasing the idea of being in the shadows. Every year I say, all right, you do a lot behind the scenes. You do a lot. I'm on the contracts. That's where I'm at. I'm on the contracts. I'm on the deals. I'm in the meetings. We're creating. And when I was finishing up the book, I said, all right, I have to like get rid of this shell and say, it's time for me to go call Jessica and do this podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm releasing the idea of just being in the back, saying, all right, I need to leave my fingerprints here. So let me finish this book and some other things I need to do.
Why do you think that's your comfort zone?
Is a defense mechanism. It's something growing up where a lot of us who grew up in certain neighborhoods grew up this way. So I'm not saying I'm so unique to it, but the idea just to be not seen, but you can see everything else. It's so comfortable there. It's so comfortable sitting behind the tinted windows of an unmarked car. It's so comfortable being there.
Yeah.
It's a little uncomfortable rolling around with, like, I hate for somebody to know my car, right? So like somebody could see, you could be driving down in the city. Hey, I just saw you down on Broadway on 20. I'm like, I don't like that feeling. So it's the same thing. I'd rather just be rolling around and you have no idea that I'm here, but I exist. I love that. But I also know I have a job to do, and God gave me something that I have to leave it here. I can't take it with me. So,
yeah. Yes, I love that. What does this mean for you to be in the spotlight now?
I don't think I'm in the spotlight.
Well, you're going to be.
I feel it's the right time. If I don't want anyone to see this like spotlight, who the hell he think he is? Like, listen,
anyone who thinks that is not your person, right? Everybody else is like, it's about time.
Right. I feel like this. It's about time because of the information that's in the book. This is not a book on my life. This is a book of information that I acquired.
But you reference your life a lot.
Yeah, because I'm showing you where the information these strategies of communication, I'm connecting it to how it really happened in my life. Like, quick example, I closed deals with the Brooklyn Nets and the NBA, WNBA. Everyone asks, how did you get that? How do you do that? I said, I just attended one game. I attended one game. I went to a game and I met a person at the game, a person who was just working in the building and said, here are your tickets. And then you have to read the rest. So it's information in the book. I need to leave this information here. I can't take it with me.
You also have some juicy stories in the book, though.
Yeah.
Right? So what's your juiciest story in here?
Well, let me say this. Like I spoke about an incident that happened in Club New York with Shine. Now, it's not about as a juicy story. I use it as an example of something I spoke about as far as the representation of ourselves, how we see ourselves leading up to a certain moment. So Shine, where did Shine see himself in media, in music, in TV? At this young age, I forgot how old he was. At this young age, who did you want to be? Did you want to be a hip hop artist? Did you want to be something more? And why? So when you read the book, so yes, I'm telling a story of what happened that night, but not to pick at any wounds. I'm telling the story of how there's so many young black males or just young males, period, who see a false representation image of themselves, but will lead to a real life consequence for them.
Yeah.
So
definitely a great, juicy book, but also a lot to learn from this book. So before we go, let us know, what does success look like? The new version of success for you look like in this era?
All right. Low blood pressure is successful.
Yes.
But let me explain why for an entrepreneur. For those who are entrepreneurs, I went to the doctor, right? So regular checkup. Doctor say, oh, your blood pressure goes up and down. Like, why? They said, what do you do? So I explained it. They said, oh.
That's why.
That's why. Like, we get it. So
how do you keep your blood pressure low?
You pray, besides dieting, like you pray. To tie it into your question and the answer, success is, for me, is measured by happiness. That's it. How happy are you? How pleased are you? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Because we know as entrepreneurs, you could wake up and everything is on your back and your shoulders and you feel like, I got to grind, I got to hustle, I got to grind. And I'm all for that. But within all that, I need to be happy, right? So let me leave you with this. A friend of mine told me a long time ago, they asked me a similar question. He said, like, what are you afraid of? I said, I'm afraid of not being successful. They said, well, what does success look like? And I said it. And this person said this to me, and I never forgot it. As long as you put 100% into what you're doing, no matter what it is you're trying to do, no matter, if you put 100% in, whatever the outcome of 100% is, that's your success. That's it. So if you are an artist, you say, I want to release an album, and you work hard and you work hard and you write the music and you work hard and you touring and you're doing everything, and say the album come out and it sells 100,000 copies. Somebody says, that was a failure. That was success. If you put 100% in that, then you're going to celebrate that. That's what I tell my daughter. Like, my daughter, she may go to school and say, I'm having a problem with this math homework. Try your best. Put 100% in. So when you come home and the paper says you got a 70 on it, we're going to celebrate that 70. Or we're going to celebrate that 65 because you put 100%. So for me, success is being happy and living off whatever the 100% is.
I love that. I think that's a perfect place to end it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me
here. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Success Unscripted. If anything resonated with you, let's find out. Where can we find you?
You can find me, you can find me at a lot of places, right? You can find me in the boardroom at
on the block, everywhere.
No, where you can find me is on Amazon. You can go to Amazon search engine and put in It's Beyond Words by Harold Wilkerson. And I'm in that book. So you can find me there, but you can also find me on Instagram, Uptown Harry O, and chase.republic. But pick up the book and DM me. Let's talk about the book.
Yes.
It's not a book just about my life. It's a book with information that I believe I need to leave this here with you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you next time on Success Unscripted.
Oh, yeah.